Hey everyone, little urban scene today. Little storefront with a car. This is a 6x9 sheet of Arch, 140-pound cold press paper. Now I started out by putting on, using my hockey brush and just putting some water. I didn't over soak it, but laid in some water and gonna drop some paint in to create the sky. My objective for today and this painting is have it a bit of like a gray urban type thing. And also I didn't want to overdo the painting. I wanted to try and be a little bit looser. So I'm just dropping paints in randomly into the wet sky and not worrying so much if I paint over the building. And I'll deal with that later. So what I did there is I used some Payne's Gray and some ultramarine for the blue portion and some raw sienna for the middle of the sky. Now the foreground gray is just a Payne's Gray. Again, I'm trying to work a little quicker here. Oh, by the way, this is pretty darn close to a real time of the painting. The line work took probably twice as long as the actual painting portion. Just so you know. Anyway, so there's some Payne's Gray in the foreground, nice and wet. So in the immediate foreground, I'm just dropping in a little more Payne's Gray to just create a little more darkness in the foreground. And then, of course, I can add texture later once it's dried. So now that it's dried, I was looking at this painting and I didn't plan on doing this originally, but looking at it kind of isolated on that little mound or that hill, I decided to go in with some buildings in the background. Now, this is pretty straightforward stuff. I've done this before. This is just a collection of rectangles. I'm using my 1/4-inch flat brush. And I'm just, trying to map out what kind of looks like buildings. So it's just a collection of rectangles and squares. And those little dashes there to show chimneys and whatnot. Now, this is the only tile or shingle I have on the building by the looks of it, and decided to just go with straight up burnt sienna. Now at this point I hadn't decided what color the building is going to be. Same old fare. I knew I wanted it to be kind of like a gray scene, but I didn't want to put a whole lot of color into the building, so I'm going to leave that till the very end to see all the features around it, like the balcony and the stairs and everything. How they'll pretty well determine what color I'm going to use. Now I'm dropping in a bit of orange and a bit of burnt sienna. Yeah, there's the yellow. Yeah, I'll get going on that bigger tree. So that's a really wet mixture of cadmium yellow. And I'll try and stay within the lines there. So a really nice wet mixture. And then we'll just drop in, I'm grabbing some orange there. Just dropping in there to create a little interest. And then at the base for the darker part, just go with some burnt sienna. So when I envisioned this little urban scene, this is what I saw was the yellow-orange trees and kind of a gray background. And I knew spoiler alert, I'm going to make the car yellow. So that's all I had in my head when I set out to do this. When I did the drawing, I said, yeah, yellow car, yellow trees. So seeing as I had the green going, I did the awning up in the upper left. I did the little plant on the right, and I've added a bird to this painting. And I'm just mucking about with some grays and purples in there. Can't see his tail feathers because he's sitting on the edge. It could be a squirrel for all I know. Anyway, it is a bird. Trust me, it's a bird. And I don't know, let's say it's a dove. So yeah, this is called a dove. And now that the foreground is dried, of course, I can start to add some texture with the Payne's Gray. I'm trying to do quick brush strokes across the rough paper to create a texture, but I think in some cases there I was leaning a bit too heavy, but those last couple strokes seem to have worked. So here for the awning. So this little building, I guess it's kind of like a storefront. And it looks like he's got an entrance up at the side. So I was thinking storefront, maybe a little rental unit on the second floor, and then the owner, there he is standing up in the upper left. watching the street. He's got the suite at the top there. Now going through this painting, this is the issue you run into with doing the ink work first. Kind of forces your hand that you have to stay within the lines. So it takes away some of the freedom. The drawing part was fun, but now you see I'm almost fussing. But I did load up my brush with lots of pigment, so it's not like I'm adding tiny little bits of paint at a time. There's a lot of paint going on, but I'm trying to stay within the lines. So there's my green door for my confectionery, tobacconist, whatever you want to call it. So he's got a green door and just put some burnt sienna in at the base of the door. So it's usually where people kick it when they're going in. Now, here's the nail biter. This is when like you're painting an object in space like that, like my lamp post. First of all, the colors are Payne's gray. I've got number 6 or 4, pretty small brush going. But this is the challenge, is that when you do your lines in advance and you have an item posted up against the sky like that, you pretty well got to stay within the lines, because if you make a mistake, it will really jump out to the viewer. And that's the kind of stuff that bothers me when I look at if they missed it all. So here I am, I'm being extremely careful. So there's the base with the bolts. And now that it's all wet, yeah, it's still wet, so I can just start dropping in random colors like the burnt sienna there for the rusty look. Now my building owner has a telescope up on his private balcony. Speaking of private balcony, so I mixed up a bunch of browns. So this, I guess I'm going with the wood. Looks like it's a wooden addition. I was thinking wooden addition that's bolted to the original building. He didn't do the best job. It's kind of drooping a bit. But that's a mix of Payne's gray. I think there's some burnt sienna in there as well, and a little bit of purple, just to make it interesting. And in the, what's going on there is I actually drew the railing in to give it a bit of a 3D or give it a bit of depth. So I drew the railing on the left side of that balcony. I've got it running off into the distance. So it's dipped down, and it just gives the whole thing a bit of depth. So given that I painted the addition brown, dark, and that the deck is dark, I'm going with a, looks like that's a raw sienna for the building. So with, what have I got, a 10 or a 12 brush there, like pretty loaded up with paint. And it's nice and wet, so then same old routine, just dropping in some color at the base of it to show some wear. It's where all the dirt gathers. And then of course paint the main structure as well. No doubt in my mind what color to paint the guy's pants. Those are going to be mustard pants. And of course, nothing better than mustard pants and a green shirt. So here comes the, gonna have a nice green shirt on this guy. There you go. So same old process here with the the street level portion of the house or building, store. Nice wet mixture of raw sienna. And then for the wear part, down at the dirty, grimy part, just put in a bit of burnt sienna. Yeah, I'm gonna get onto the stairs. The stairs now. There's gonna be a lot of wear on those, so that's my those are my go-to dirty colors. Use a bit of raw sienna there, just pretending that the light is hitting the stairs a bit, like at the mid part, but the rest of it creating some contrast. So there's going to be some quite a bit of dark going in there. So I'm actually going to add some darker, richer colors to the base of the stairs, right where I am there. And it's a negative painting, so I want that car to jump out. So I'm not sure that the yellow car will stand out on its own. So what I do, as I get closer to the vehicle, or any point of interest whatsoever, you just start adding in some darks. I do anyway, to define it and make it jump off the page a little bit. So there's the case. I'm just going to add some darks in down at the bottom, close to the car. And now you can see the car, because a couple of minutes ago when it's like just the raw sienna in there, it's just kind of, it's not jumping out. Now, seeing as this guy owns the whole building and is renting the second floor, he's still going with the green door. Okay, so that was burnt sienna for the window ledges, window sills. And again, while the stairs were drying, I'm just moving around and just painting in other areas that I'd neglected. So the car, I just used some ultramarine for the windows of the car, and I just lifted about a bit of paint to show the glare or the shine off the window. Now this guy's got all his luggage in the back of his car. And it's luggage from the 50s, so he's got the, you know, that brown leather look. I'm just adding a bit of color to the sidewalk to once again define the car, like to make the car jump out. So when I do get around to putting yellow on it, it will be, I'm watching myself paint that tree. It will, it'll jump off the page a little bit, hopefully. So it looks like I'm getting close to shadow time. I'm dropping in some dark underneath the steps. And here's what I was talking about earlier, bringing it down close to the car and making it even darker. Yeah, so that's starting to stand out now. And you can actually see that the car is in the foreground. So here you go with the shadows. It's a gray day, so I'm using some Payne's gray with just a touch of ultramarine blue. And right there you can tell that my light will be coming from the left. I'm just putting that right addition in a bit of shadow. Yeah, so the light looks like it's upper left there. Yeah, so that roof is casting some shadow down, and the other part of the place is throwing the shadow to the right. Now the deck sticks out quite a bit, so this is the fun part. You get that giant shadow under it. And of course that roof at the side on the dark. Now on a dark addition like that, I just made the paint a little bit richer and a little bit darker. Now we're pretending that the awning is kind of blowing in, so it's going to have a shadow at the front. And a nice rich shadow, yeah, showing that the awning is sticking out quite a bit. Another deep shadow going there. of course, that railing and little side of the stairs was going to have some shadow. So it looks like we're in a home stretch here if we're painting the car. Okay, the wheel wells. Nice simple Payne's gray, and as mentioned, my spoiler, the car is a really rich cadmium yellow, really wet, lots of paint on the brush. They are all staying within the lines. Good. And I'm grabbing some burnt sienna, giving it the Canadian rust treatment there at the base of the door and around the wheel wells. There we go. Looks like every car on my street now. So here we go. We've got Davies Gray doing the bumpers. Nice and simple, and then we'll get some Payne's gray going with a bit of purple to do the tires, make them a little more interesting rather than just straight up black. Let's go with gray and purple. And that's going to about do it. So we'll get this guy signed, get the tape off it, and we'll call it a day. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you again soon.